Hey friends, welcome to Sassy AF's TV Season 2, Episode 14, Embracing Masculine and Feminine Energy. Guess what? This week, I'm riding solo just like Jason Derulo. Just kidding. But for real, this is my first ever solo episode, and I'm nervous-sighted to share it with you. Let's talk about energy. We all have masculine and feminine energy. It's time to embrace both sides of yourself and truly understand who you are, what you need, how you recharge, and how you communicate to those most important in your life. Remember, balance is not 50-50. Embrace what you need in the given moment and truly thrive to live your passion and your purpose. Let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Sassy AF TV and the Sassy AF audio experience. You'll probably notice that it's just me today. Whoa! I'm actually pretty excited and also a teeny bit nervous because I've never done one of these solo episodes before, but you know what? You gotta start somewhere. So let's do this today. How are you? How are you really? It has been a gnarly time. Just to mark where we're at, I don't even know what day it is. That's what's going on right now, right? It's Thursday. It just came back to me. It's Thursday. It's April 9th. That's when this is being recorded. And we are in a weird space right now. We're in a time warp. Sometimes I don't even know what time it is, which way is up, which way is down, what's going on. And I wanted to check in with you, first of all, and see how you are embracing this new normal and this new way of life. My take on it is that some parts of it are really awesome. And I heard this quote the other day that talked about, I don't know the exact words that it used, but the intention of the quote was, we have to embrace what we have right now. And was everything really so good the way that it was before? And what can we take from this time that we have right now in this quote unquote new normal, air quotes for those of you who are just listening? And how can we carry that forward into our future for the better? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I've been thinking about how my life has already started shifting in this short amount of time. I think it's been about 3 weeks since we've been sheltering in place, quarantined, staying at home, whatever you want to call it. And the way that I've seen the shift so far for me and my family is that things have pretty dramatically slowed down. And we really have no idea when things are going to shift back in whatever way that means, or what expectations we can have going forward. And that's really weird for me because I am a little bit of a type A personality. And often I like to have structure. And so when I don't, I can freak out. So I'm trying really hard not to freak out. But you know what's pretty cool is that I'm actually freaking out a whole lot less than I thought I would. I thought that this would throw me into this mega tailspin. And it's not. And that's actually really weird. I'm kind of okay with the disruption of my life. And that to me is throwing me off a little bit. Does that make any sense? I'm not even sure. But it is what it is. So my take on it is we have to embrace it. We have to figure out what's working for us right now in this moment. And that's what inspired me to come to you today with a talk about energy. And it's so relevant right now because there's so much to be said in that word energy. So I'm going to talk to you about it in a couple of different ways. First of all, when you think of energy, you might think of the Energizer Bunny. If you're with me and you're from my generation and you can remember that commercial, right? With that little wind-up toy bunny that had the drum, the glasses on, and the Energizer, and you can just picture him running around and beating on that drum and doing his thing, going in circles. I have been referred to as the Energizer Bunny more times than I could tell you for a lot of different reasons. But when I used to be an Energizer Bunny, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, a lot of it came from a desire to really control everything. And also, I was truly in my masculine energy state. So I want to talk to you about masculine energy versus feminine energy and how we can really embrace both sides of those within ourselves. And it has nothing to do with what gender you are, what gender you were born with, or what gender you identify with. It's not about that. It's about different energy types and how we embrace those sides of ourselves and find this balance or this mix. So if you're familiar with the masculine energy versus the feminine, they're just two opposite spectrums of how energy is transmitted. And energy has to do, yes, with that internal fire inside of you and literally that energetic output that you give out to the world. But it also, everything is energy. Every exchange with another individual is energy. Every exchange with the universe is energy. Items moving from one place to another, that's energy. So really, everything is energy, which I think is pretty freaking cool, to be honest. But masculine energy has a lot to do with structure and control and putting things very specifically in a specific way and wanting to take over. Sometimes it can be thought of as being loud and dominant, whereas feminine energy is a lot more fluid. It's a lot more, even as I say this, I'm kind of moving my body in this way, right? Of fluidity and flexibility and going with the flow and embracing what's happening in this given moment as it is. So if you've heard my story before, you know that I lived a good portion of my life in a masculine energy state. Now, I wouldn't have called it that, but I would have called it that I was a, type A, firstborn, control freak, overachiever, perfectionist, people pleaser, all those things. Now, in and of itself, none of that is bad, right? It's just that when I was living in that space for such a long time, I was out of balance. And I didn't actually discover this until recently, where I had this revelation where I was like, oh, living in that space of masculine energy made me feel disconnected to myself. And that's why I was having such dissonance with what was going on with my life. And nothing was wrong with my life, so to speak, right? I was just very much in this check the boxes space. And going through school, for example, I always had to make sure that I knew exactly how many points every assignment was worth and how many points an assignment was worth to get an A and how many points that I had to get my GPA to a certain space, right? And if I missed any of it, oh my God, I would lose my mind. And then that would make me crazy. I remember having a teacher in high school once who was like, Hallie, put your point sheet away. Stop calculating all the points. Can you picture this? I don't know if you can relate to this at all, but it's like I was so obsessed with having everything perfect and in alignment and understanding exactly how things go that I didn't allow for any space for fluidity or flexibility or just embracing whatever was going on in the current moment. It was like, if I didn't know exactly the plan, I would just lose my mind. And that's kind of a scary place to live in because when shit happens that you're not accounting for, you lose your mind. So I continued to go through this, most of my life, through high school, through college, through starting my career, through being married, through having kids. And it was like every time, here's what would happen. I would constantly be looking for the next thing to be overachieving and even just achieving, right? The next thing to check off the box, check off on my list. So I would work really, really hard to get that next achievement. For example, I had a really great paying corporate job. I was in corporate sales for a long time, worked for a Fortune 100 company. And we would have, weekly and monthly roll calls where they would, you'd have certain benchmarks that you had to reach or sales contests that would happen. And every time one was announced, I was like, okay, let's go, let's get this. And I would have to be, number one. And then I would find myself super competitive with whoever was another high achiever in my office, who especially was someone in my class, someone that started around the same time that I did, that I found myself being of an equivalent status to. And I would work my ass off to get whatever this achievement was. And I would get it and it would be awesome. I'd be so excited. And then immediately I would feel let down. Oh shit, now what? Now what do I have to look forward to? And that was me living in this masculine energy state where I was constantly overachieving and really trying hard to get to this certain level. And then if I couldn't get, or when I got there, and I couldn't get there or when I got there, then it was always well, now what? because I wasn't able or willing or ready to embrace this more fluid way of being. So that to me is something that actually is quite stressful and caused me quite a bit of stress going forward. And so it's interesting how in this state of my life, so I turned 40 last year, and I don't know if anyone else is in that space of like, when I turned 40, I just stopped giving a fuck about everything. I've heard a lot of people actually say that, and it's kind of true and so liberating. And for me, I've really embraced this feminine energy side. Whereas before I was always like, have to get this achievement, have to get this next thing. If I don't get this next thing, like my life is over, right? But that caused me so much stress and angst because if I didn't get the thing, whatever the thing was, whatever the expectation was, whatever the thing was that I imagined that I had to have in my life, if I didn't get it, I was devastated. I was devastated. And that's such a hard way to live your life because you're constantly going after these goals that whether or not you achieve them, that's not even the point. It's like you're an adrenaline junkie going after this benchmark. So when I turned 40, I had already been doing a lot of personal development work. I'd already been doing a lot of work on myself. As you know, this business has already taken place. I had already committed to myself, to my growth, to prioritizing myself, to putting myself first. But there were so many expectations that I had leading up to 40. Probably when I turned about 35, I had this idea in my head like, oh my God, when I'm 40, I have to have my life together. And that was probably the most major achievement that stressed me out up until that point, because I put so many expectations on myself, so much pressure to like have this perfect life by the time I was 40. You know, my 3 kids would all be situated in whatever that they were doing. I would live in a big house. My business and my husband's business would be thriving and we'd have tons of money and we'd be traveling all the time and we'd be, financially independent, et cetera, et cetera. Like all these things that, yeah, they're great, but is that really what makes you happy? But nonetheless, I put all this pressure on myself around, leading up to this point. And at 35, when I had this moment of like, oh my God, I'm going to be 40 in 5 years. I better get my shit together. That's when I started having like major meltdowns and doing all these things that just setting myself up for failure and self-destructive behavior because I just couldn't deal with the fact that, oh my God, what happens if I can't hit those benchmarks, that these arbitrary benchmarks that I had set for myself in that masculine energy space over the years. But fast forwarding through all that, and I was able to get through it, thank goodness, and do a lot of work on myself in the process. That was key. The key was finally stepping out of that space and saying, I need to slow the fuck down and I need to start prioritizing myself and I need to do some work on me. That was key. That was where I made a big shift. And in that work, I've discovered this part is what's blowing my mind because I only actually connected all these dots specifically recently within the last few months. But what I discovered was that I don't thrive in masculine energy and type A and control and firstborn, et cetera, et cetera. I thrive when I embrace my feminine energy and I embrace fluidity and I lean into the situation and I lower my expectations and I surrender. And it's really cool. But the thing is, I didn't allow myself to even experience any of that energy up until probably the last couple of years, because I would fight against it. And when you resist and when you fight against something and you're having this like constant tug and this pull in your own life, it's hard. It's exhausting. It's energetically taxing because you're constantly fighting against yourself. Talk about an energy suck. It wasn't that I was doing all these things, but it was that I was doing all these things that were energetically taxing because I was resisting and fighting against myself. So let's talk about feminine energy, because feminine energy allows you to just kind of move your body and be fluid and really accept things for as they are, but also have intention and purpose and passion in what you're doing. And passion is key because for me, I struggle I struggled. I mean, I'm not struggling quite as much anymore, but I used to struggle with this idea of passion. What are you passionate about? I'd have no idea. It was like deer in headlights, like eyes all big, like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. But now I have a much greater sense of what I'm passionate about because I've allowed myself to listen and to embrace this side of myself, this feminine side, this feminine fluidity. I want to share an example with you. So the other day, I did this self-love dance ritual that my good friend Laura, who's actually going to be on this show in a couple of weeks, she produced a video that I followed along with. And it was so out of my comfort zone, like so out of my comfort zone. But I loved it. And let me tell you a little bit let me try to paint the picture of what happened. So I'm watching this video that Laura produced, and it's just her in the video. And she's on a yoga mat, and she's describing this nature scene and allowing yourself to be like a bird coming up in nature and starting as this really small little crouched over bird. And then as the music builds and grows, you're like building into yourself, and then you're reaching up into the sky, and then you're moving your body and you're dancing and you're embracing the music and the movement. And I was just standing in my bedroom with the door locked because that's what we have to do right now during quarantine. And I'm standing on my yoga mat and I'm just closing my eyes and moving my body, whatever movement came to me. And I'm not a great dancer, but I didn't care. It wasn't about the actual moves that I was doing. It was about feeling the music and feeling the movement and feeling my passion and my energy. Oh my God, it was amazing. And just the release that I felt and the energy that was coming out of me, I felt so aligned with who I am at my core. And that is feminine energy. So you have to really think about, how do you stay in alignment with who you are and what brings you to that space? And then sometimes, there's this ebb and flow, and balance doesn't look like 50-50. It's not like 50% of my time I'm going to be masculine energy and 50% of my time I'm going to be feminine energy. No, that's too structured. That goes back to masculine energy, right? But you have to figure out what's the ebb and the flow. What makes me feel good in the moment and is aligned with what I need to be doing. So I want you to think about this as you are working through and creating this life that you want, this life that's fun and passion-filled and fulfilling and meaningful to you. And if you're prioritizing yourself, you're really understanding how you work with your own energy, whether it's the masculine or the feminine. So if you think about it, when you're working on a deadline, maybe you have a project for work and you have to get certain things done by a certain time because there are expectations of you and people are counting on you for whatever reason. Great. Then embrace that masculine energy side of you. Stick to your deadlines, block schedule your calendar, get that shit done, turn it in, and do all the things you have to do. Set those expectations and get them done. Yes. You need to embrace your masculine energy in that scenario. But let's talk about relationships. When you're in a relationship, you can't force people to do things exactly the way that you want them to be done. I mean, come on. Yes, that would be nice, right? How cool would that be if everybody did everything exactly the way that you wanted it to be done? Like parenting. Let's talk about the relationship between being a parent and a child, or being the parent to a child, I should say. Right? Like, yeah, of course you want your kid to do everything that you say in every moment. But if you try to force that and you try to, enforce that structure all the time, what's going to happen? Likely, your kids are going to rebel and resist against you. They're going to push back and say no, because nobody else really wants to be controlled. So, can you embrace the feminine energy side of you and just go with the flow, feel into the situation, be a little more fluid and a little more flexible? Think about that. Is that something that you can do? That's something that I have to work on. I mean, when I really try to take control of everything going on in my household with my kids or my husband, forget it. Nobody wants to listen to that, mom. But if I ask the question, what works for you in this situation? What do you want to do right now? What chore makes you feel the best? They probably would say none, truthfully, but you get the point. If I don't dictate and try to control every little thing, there's so much more success and happiness. And I feel more aligned with my core values because I know that I'm not trying to like shove everything into these little boxes that it doesn't necessarily fit. So I'd love for you to think about that and apply this to your own life. Apply this concept of the masculine versus the feminine energy, right? And then you have to be able to communicate your needs to other people. So you have to think about who are the people in my life that I need to be communicating what I need in any given moment and where I'm at and where my headspace is at and what energy state am I in right now today? Because guess what? That shifts. That's the thing about the balance. It's not like you can say, okay, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to be this way. And Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I'm going to be this way. No, it doesn't work like that. You know that. But you have to be able to articulate and communicate to those that you love the most, the people that are around you, especially right now, especially when we're all home trying to coexist in whatever size space you have that you can't leave. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to say to your partner, to your children, to your friend, to your roommate, to whomever, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. And this is how I'm feeling. And this is the energy that I'm giving off. And I want you to know that so that we can make this work. The other thing about energy is that you have to recharge. You can't keep going all the time like that Energizer Bunny, right? Banging the drum, Energizer Bunny, go, 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 go. What happens? You burn out. You burn out because you use up all your energy. And the thing about energy is, yes, it ebbs and flows. And sometimes we have more of it and sometimes we have less of it. But we have to recharge and we have to rest. And I know more than anybody that resting is hard, especially when you're in demand. I get that. Trust me. But you have to rest. You have to refuel. And resting isn't just sleeping. I mean, sleeping is critical, 7 to 9 hours a night on average. That's the goal, right? But it's more than just sleeping. It's also about how are you refueling yourself by doing self-care? How are you connecting with people that fuel you mind, body, and spirit? How are you nourishing your body by moving it, by doing things like meditation or journaling? These are ways that you help recharge your energy. So the other day, I was having a complete meltdown day, right? These happened anyway, let's be real. But right now, I think perhaps maybe all of us are a tiny bit more sensitive considering the current situation. I was in a total meltdown mode and I just had to journal and let the tears flow and get it all out. And that was actually super recharging because when I was all keyed up and wound up from all this negative energy that I was feeling in that moment, I had to release it and I had to recharge and refuel. And by doing the journaling, that actually helped me release the energy, take some breaths, get the tears out, reread my words when I was done, and refuel. So there's lots of ways to refuel and recharge, but the key is to do it. Because if you're ignoring yourself and you're not refueling and not recharging, then you're never going to be able to give the appropriate energy that you want to give to live your life of passion and purpose. And the last thing that I want to say about that is, in addition to the communication and really allowing yourself to recharge and refuel, you have to surround yourself with people that lift you up and help you create the type of energy that you want to have. Because if you are constantly in a space where you find resistance or you're out of alignment with the people that you're surrounded with in your life, you're not going to feel good. That's how I felt. I experienced that many times. I've had groups of friends where they weren't really good friends and they were, instead of fueling me with fun and making me feel good, I realized that I was having this struggle, this resistance, and it was energetically taxing. But when you surround yourself with people that lift you up because they're positive, because they get you, because they give you energy and you are able to give your energy and receive in that way, then that is super recharging and allows you to thrive and succeed and to really just be in your best space, in your best self space. So I just want to offer in this moment that it's super important to connect with people that share your values, help you feel aligned with your energy sources, and you work off each other. So if you're looking for that sort of a connection, make sure that you do your homework, especially right now when it's a little bit harder and we have to be more mindful of who we're spending our time with externally, because whoever you have in your house, you're kind of stuck with. Hopefully it's a good stuck. But if you have an opportunity to connect externally, that's why I offer the Facebook group. So if you're not a member, if you're a woman and you're listening to this and you're not a member of the Facebook group, I would absolutely love to welcome you to it. And it's a great community of women that come together every single day to have conversation and community and lift each other up and create that energy that we want. And also just to mention, shameless plug, but I got to put it in there. I'm starting a women's circle for the same reason too, because I want to create this intimate space where women can come together in a small group and really have this deeper connection, not only to themselves, but to each other, to lift each other up and create that energy that we're all looking for. And if you're a man, I love you and I'm so glad you're here and I'm so glad you're listening. And reach out to me one-on-one because I definitely have some resources for you as well. But the point is, whatever way that feels good to you about connecting with others, that's what the takeaway is here. You have to find people that you connect with in a way that creates positive energy and positive momentum for your life so that you feel the best every single day. So that's what I have for you. And that was so fun. I hope you enjoyed this first solo episode of the Sassy AF TV, Sassy AF audio experience. I'm going to be coming at you with more of this stuff. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, of course, please reach out to me. You know where to find me. All the social medias at Sassy Healthy Fit, the website, sassyhealthy.fit. You can always email me, Hallie at sassyhealthyfit. Try that again. Hallie at sassyhealthy.fit is my email address. But let me know what questions you have. How can I help you? How can I support you? This is my intention, is to provide wisdom, empowerment, opportunity, and connection so that you can really connect to yourself, connect to others in a deeper level, truly feel aligned, and create a life that makes you feel good, empowered, passionate, and sassy AF. Thanks for being here. Hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye. I want to know, where do you feel most aligned with your energy? Channeling your masculine, your feminine, or a combination? Also, if you have any questions or ideas for future episodes, feel free to reach out and share them with me. I love to hear your ideas. Thanks again for being here and tuning in for another episode of Sassy AF TV. It would mean the world to me if you would leave a comment and take a screenshot to share it with your tribe on Instagram or Facebook. Don't forget to tag me at Sassy Healthy Fit. Then make sure to head over to sassyhealthy.fit and sign up for our mailing list so you always know the latest and greatest in sassy fun. See you next time.